Hi, this is Brooke Booth, life coach at brookeboothcoaching.com, where I help people in a mixed faith marriage, Mormons in a mixed faith marriage due to a faith transition. And I'm on social media a lot because of this, and I moderate a site called Mormon Mixed Faith Marriage. And a lot of times I see in social media when people are asking questions about their mixed faith marriage, often this question is posed, some version of this. How can I support my spouse in our mixed faith marriage? And lots of good ideas are usually given and shared. People will say, I help by doing the kids' hair. On Sunday morning, I go to church every other week. Things like this to support. And a lot of times the questions are interesting. They even go like this, like, should I go to church to support my spouse, even though I find it triggering? How can I support my spouse to their faith transition? And I want to talk about this idea of support in a marriage because I think there can be some things that come in and cloud the idea of what support can look like. It's interesting to note that the underlying premise of a lot of these questions is the most supportive thing I could really do is to not have a faith transition, right? To be on the same page as far as faith. And so I'll do the next most supportive thing, which is interesting to look at because the underlying idea there's a problem. I am a problem. My faith transition is a problem, or their faith transition is a problem. Something to consider. But let's talk more about support. I think a good question to ask yourself is, what do you mean when you say support? A lot of times when we say support, what we really mean is, how do I avoid my spouse feeling discomfort? And a lot of times it means, what should I do to sacrifice in this marriage? And those can have implications directly in your relationship. Many of my clients that I talk to think about it in terms of a type of sacrifice, something that is done at their own expense. There's a winner, there's a loser. I'll support you in this, so you'll win and I'll lose. It's the idea of, I'll go to church even though I find it traumatic. I'll go with you to church even though I found it triggering. And when we talk about support, especially in this term of like a winner and a loser, a lot of times it's rooted in one of three things. One is it's rooted in obligation. Another one is we see the relationship as transactional. And the third one is people pleasing. And I want to talk briefly about all three. When you approach a relationship out of obligation, like I'm going to support you because I should, because I'm supposed to, because that's what a good spouse does. I'm not a good person if I don't do this. That is showing support out of obligation. And obligation is heavy. It's hard to sustain. It creates resentment when it's not appreciated or reciprocated. And it's really hard to reciprocate because pretty sure you're the one doing most of the, quote unquote offering. When obligation is the foundation of support, it leads to resentment and frustration, and it's just not sustainable. So let's talk about transactional relationships. Very closely related to obligation. I will do this for you, but you sure better make sure you do something in exchange for me. And that could be that you don't complain about my faith transition. That, you are supportive in return, that you are happy and not complaining about me not going to church or me going to church. But it's fundamentally a transaction, which there's nothing wrong with. It's just good to see that that's how you're functioning in your relationship. Because sometimes when we have a transactional foundation to our relationship, when that transaction is not reciprocated, right? When something is given but something isn't given in return, it can lead to, this isn't fair, which leads to resentment, which leads to frustration, which means this isn't a sustainable approach to support your spouse long term. So let's talk about people pleasing. People pleasing often sounds like this. I'll do this sacrifice, I'll do this thing so you'll still think I'm a good person, so you'll still like me, so you'll still think I'm worthy of your love and good judgment. It may sound like, please, please still like me even though I've had a faith transition. Please still believe I'm a good person. See how nice and generous I am. That all is rooted in people pleasing. People pleasing, unfortunately, comes from fear and control. Fear what they'll think about you and trying to control what. Like this. I'll go to church with you because I'm supportive, so you'll think I'm a good spouse. Even though I don't really want to, and it's not really true to me, I'll hurt my own feelings so I won't hurt yours. This is people pleasing, and guess what it leads to? There's a bit of a pattern here. Resentment, frustration, and it's just not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way to show support in a relationship. So I explore these ideas with my clients, and as we try to decide like what they mean when they say supporting their spouse. And it's often one of these things. It's often people pleasing or obligation or transaction. And then we start to like crack open the door to like what else can supporting your spouse mean? How else can that look in your marriage? Is there a win-win approach? Is there a way to avoid resentment? Is there a sustainable way to support each other in your marriage without burning out and ending up in frustration and resentment? So I like to start asking yourself, what are the sustainable ways of supporting each other here? I promise you, there are 100 ways you can support your spouse that can be win-win for both of you. But in order to access these ideas and to start to find and explore these ideas, you have to move out of obligation. You have to move out of fear. You have to move out of, this isn't fair type thinking and feeling. And you have to move into love. Love instead of obligation will help you so much. If you want to give your spouse a gift because you think they're amazing, because you love them so much, but not because you feel obligated to, it's very different. Not because you're trying to convince them you're a good person. It's a very different approach. If you want to do something because you love them, no strings attached, not trying to prove your goodness, your worthiness. This kind of support really rooted in love instead of obligation or fear, which is people pleasing or transaction, is very different. It may look like not attending church, or it may look like attending church. That may vary depending on you and your relationship, but it's going to feel different. It's going to be sustainable. So the obstacles in the way of accessing this type of support: obligation, fear, people-pleasing, transactional habits. And the best way to clean that up is to give support from a place of love. And this is a lot of the work I do with my clients. We clean that up. I'm going to give you an idea of how it looks in my relationship with my husband. And this doesn't mean this is how you need to support your spouse at all. This is just some ideas to get the juices flowing for you to figure out what are some win-win ways of showing support in your relationship where one person, where it is sustainable and one person isn't bogged down in resentment. This is individually tailored. Every relationship is different. So again, this is just to get the ideas flowing. So with me, I stay home on Sunday and my youngest goes every week and I don't really help getting him ready. Don't iron his clothes, don't do his hair. I do hug and smile and wish them well. I do get rest and usually work on my podcast. I give them a genuine hug and kiss goodbye. I don't complain about them leaving. I don't, slip in passive comments about tithing or time spent at church. I don't complain about the extra meetings or things like that. I let him practice his religion as he sees fit and not how I think he should practice his religion. This is how I choose to support. I give him space to do religion his way. And when I do support this way, it's supportive of both of us. It's a win-win. It supports him and it supports me. Now I know I'm probably painting something of a glowing picture here, and sometimes I mess up and I play the martyr or I complain, but then I apologize and I own it and I clean it up and I go back to the sustainable ways to support in my relationship. All right, think about how you are currently supporting your spouse in your mixed faith marriage. Is it sustainable? What changes do you need to implement so it can be sustainable? If you want to do this work with me as a coach, let's connect. Reach out to me at brookeboothcoaching.com. There are ways to get a hold of me there. Schedule a free call and we can find out if coaching is what you need to help you show up in a supportive way in your marriage without burnout, without resentment, without the unsustainability of transaction and obligation. I have a group program starting very soon. These are some of the things I teach in that program. If you love to be in a group and really feel the support that comes from that and all of the lessons learned from being where I teach about, some of the fundamental things you need to know to have a successful mixed faith marriage, that might be something you're interested in. Go to my website for information on that. I'll offer you this too. If you just want more information on how to deal with your mixed faith marriage, my podcast is another great place to go. Mormon Mixed Faith Marriage Podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, things like that. So much to offer you. So many ways to support you in your mixed faith marriage. All right, wishing you the best.